Millennium, the Seventh Day by Bonck. Chapter 14, The Final Battle. It's been 2 weeks since the presentations have started showing. They are now much closer to Israel and the camp of the saints. The borderline of the camp has now been delineated all the way around and consists of 2 fences. The outer fence is 6 feet high with no wire on it to make it dangerous to climb over. But the second fence is 8 feet high and has a defensive barrier on top. The area between the fences is labeled as a no-go zone and is about 100 yards wide. There are many gates in the fences. There are walkways between the fences to direct the traffic to the gates of the second fence. There are guards stationed at the gates. They are saints and angels. No one knows just how many there are. Only a few are visible at any one time. Azazel has been sending his agents to the camp to attempt to infiltrate and terrorize the inhabitants. Jesus has pulled all the Eli officers back into the Jerusalem area. This is to protect them from the rebellion. The Lord knows that the rebellion is against him and his kingdom. So the angels and saints are the first line of defense. Everyone that is approaching the camp is observed and analyzed as to whether or not they are a threat. If they are found to be a threat, they are removed from the area and sent back to their homes. When people come to the gates to flee the rebellion, they are required to confirm their fidelity to the Lord's kingdom. God knows. The settlements, which are closer to the safe zone, had begun coming to the area very quickly. These people are very devout and have been warned through prayer by the Holy Spirit to flee to safety. They did not require the presentation to get the message. At times, during the past 1,000 years, there have been tens of thousands of saints living and working in the Jerusalem area. After all, they were helping to run the Lord's government. But recently, the number of saints in and around Jerusalem has been reduced to a fraction of the normal number. David Bet Adiel, the son of Gus, has noticed this reduction and was beginning to be concerned. He has approached Thomas Taylor and asked, "Do you know what's going on?" Thomas hesitates, then drops his head as though in prayer. Then looks up and smiles to David. "Yes, I can tell you. There is a most amazing event coming soon. The Lord is going to move his kingdom from the surface of the earth and relocate it to the third heavens in one continuous action." David exclaims, "Why? I thought that we have a safe zone and would be excluded from the fire which will come to purge the earth." Thomas replies, "Yes, the safe zone will be protected during the event until the kingdom is gone. Then the walls will be dropped, and the air will feed the fire from the first heavens or atmosphere. It will be sucked into the fire and will feed the flames. The oceans will be evaporated and completely dry. The oceans will be gone." Thomas continues, "The heat from the worldwide fire will begin melting the surface of the earth. and the mountains and the elements will melt. David asks, how will the earth support life and the people who live here? Thomas sighs and then replies, it won't, at least not for a while. We will return at a later time, but not right away. David, do you remember the Church of Jesus Christ, how it was changed in the twinkling of an eye and caught up to heaven to become the bride of Christ, the Anashe? Within the safety zone will be changed just like the church was, and then taken to the third heavens. The saints are being relocated to the third heaven to reduce the traffic on that day and provide space for the rural Anashi to enter Jerusalem. When the day is over, there will be no Anashi left at all. Fallen man will be completely gone from the earth. The redeemed Anashi will have been moved to the third heavens, and all the works of fallen man, the Anashi, are gone. David asks, what about the animals? What happens to them? Thomas smiled and says, I can't tell you too much, but you need to understand that the Lord will come back to earth from heaven on the back of a horse. In fact, he did. I was there riding a horse with him. These horses were able to move through the sky and survive without air. There are animals in heaven, and they are indeed very special. David asks, when will it happen? When will fire come down? Thomas says, no one is sure. The decision is the Lord's, and no one knows exactly what will trigger it. We all know we can trust him to do it or not at the right time, for the right reason. Azazel is monitoring the flow of people to the saints' camp and assessing how strong his rebellion is. He has ordered his people to move to the camp as quickly as possible from every direction, all at the same time. He has given very specific orders not to attempt to enter the saints' camp till they are told. Azazel believes that if the density of the rebellion on all the borders of the camp is enough, it will be impossible to stop the masses of people from overwhelming the fences and defenses of God's stronghold. But he must hold them back, the rebels, till the numbers are sufficient. It is nearly noonday in Israel and the camp of the saints. There are no clouds in the sky. There's an eerie silence around the camp. You could cut the tension with a knife. The rebels are looking into the enclosure past the guard locations as far as they can see into the camp, but they see no one. There's only an occasional flock of birds flying at top speed into the camp. They just disappear into the distance within the enclosure. It's like they were late for Noah's Ark. Azazel receives word that his people are in place all the way around the Jewish settlements, Israel, and the city of Jerusalem. The distance around is 100 miles in length. The rebels are like the sands of the sea as far as one can see. Azazel gives the order to attack and not to stop, no matter what happens. The time is exactly noon. All of Azazel's commanders have been told to give the same command at the same time. The huge rebel cry comes forth and is heard as they begin to press forward into God's camp. The first wall crumples easily, and the masses move into the second fence. As soon as they touch it, There's a loud sound of thunder from overhead. Because of the frenzy of the people up in the front attack, they cannot stop or look around. They just keep pressing forward. But the people further back in the throng can see very clearly that there is a wall, which looks like a shimmering wall of northern lights, coming down from the top of the atmosphere, flowing down like sheets of flames, white like plasma. Overhead of the camp of the saints, a huge portal is opening up in the second heavens, making way for travel directly into the third heavens. There's a mighty rush of wind going up into the opening. The windstorm takes about 5 minutes to evacuate the camp. And then the portal closes behind the wind. The closure of the portal caused a horrific clap of thunder. Then, as the flames reached the ground all around the camp, and all sounds inside the camp stopped, everything went silent. Without oxygen, no sound. The cries of the rebels cannot be heard as they simply crumple in place. The fire from heaven continues to flow down. When it hits the surface, it flows out like water outward from the camp. Like a 50-foot high, flaming tsunami of flammable fuel. The same process is happening from 5 other portals located around the world. The oceans very quickly begin to boil away. The ice caps don't last long under the extreme temperatures. There is no throttle on the rate of combustion. Thus, the atmosphere itself is beginning to burn off. The situation is so bad that the surface elements begin to melt and the whole earth is incinerated. Nothing is left alive. The earth is finished. It is no more. End of chapter 14.